back to another episode of One by One Year. Today is day or episode 25, and today we are going to be reading chapters 16, 17, and 18 of Exodus. So let's get right into it. Chapter 16. Then the whole community of Israel set out for Elm and journey into the wilderness of Sin. Sin, the geographical name Sin is, I'm just going to read this because, so the geographical name of Sin is related to Sinai, and should not be confused with the English word sin. So sin being like, you have sinned. Okay. Now that we got that out of the way, between Elm and Mount Sinai, they arrived there on the 15th day of the second month, 1 month after leaving the land of Egypt. There too the whole community of Israel complained about Moses and Aaron. If only the Lord had killed us back in Egypt, they moaned. There we sat around pots filled with meat and ate all the bread we wanted. But now you have brought us into this wilderness to starve us all to death. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Look, I'm going to rain down food from heaven for you. Each day the people can go out and pick up as much food as they need for that day. I will test them in this to see whether or not they will follow my instructions. On the 6th day they will gather food, and when they prepare it, there will be twice as much as usual." So Moses and Aaron said to all the people of Israel, "By evening you will realize it was the Lord who brought you out of the land of Egypt. In the morning you will see the glory of the Lord, because he has heard your complaints which are against him, not against us. What have we done that you should complain about us?" Then Moses added, "The Lord will give you meat to eat in the evening and bread to satisfy you in the morning, for he has heard all your complaints against him. What have we done? Yes, your complaints are against the Lord, not against us." Then Moses and Aaron said to Aaron, "Announce this to the entire community of Israel. Present yourselves before the Lord, for he has heard your complaining." And as Aaron spoke to the whole community of Israel, they looked out towards the wilderness. There they could see the awesome glory of God in the cloud. Then the Lord said to Moses, "I have heard the Israelites' complaints. Now tell them, in the evening you will have meat to eat, and in the morning you will have all the bread you want. Then you will know that I am the Lord your God." That evening vast numbers of quail flew in and covered the camp, and the next morning the area around the camp was wet with dew. When the dew evaporated, a flaky substance as fine as frost blanketed the ground. The Israelites were puzzled when they saw it. "What is this?" they asked. Sorry, I had to take care of two things. Okay. I'm going to start from verse 29. They must realize that... Verse 14. When the dew evaporated, a flaky substance as fine as frost blanketed the ground. The Israelites were puzzled when they saw it. "What is this?" they asked each other. They had no idea what it was. And Moses told them, "It is the food the Lord has given you to eat. These are the Lord's instructions. Each household should gather as much as it needs. Pick up 2 quarts for each person in your tent." So the people of Israel did as they were told. Some gathered a lot, some only a little. But when they measured it out, everyone had just enough. Those who gathered a lot had nothing left over, and those who gathered only a little had enough. Each family had just what it needed. Then Moses told them, "Do not keep any of it until morning." But some of them didn't listen and kept it until morning. But by then it was full of maggots and had a terrible smell. Moses was very angry with them. After this the people gathered the food morning by morning, each family according to its needs. And as the sun became hot, the flakes they had not picked up melted and disappeared. On the 6th day they gathered twice as much as usual, 4 quarts for each person instead of 2. Then all the leaders of the community came and asked Moses for an explanation. He told them, "This is what the Lord commanded. Tomorrow will be a day of complete rest, a holy Sabbath day, set apart for the Lord. So bake or boil as much as you want today, and set aside what is left for tomorrow." So they put some aside until the morning, just as Moses had commanded. And in the morning the leftover food was wholesome and good, without maggots or odor. Then Moses said, "Eat this food today, for today is the Sabbath day, dedicated to the Lord. There will be no food on the ground today. You may gather the food for 6 days, but the 7th day is the Sabbath. There will be no food on the ground that day." Some of the people went out anyways on the 7th day, but they found no food. The Lord asked Moses, "How long will these people refuse to obey my commands and instructions? They must realize that the Sabbath is the Lord's gift to you. This is why he gives you a 2-day supply on the 6th day, so there will be enough for 2 days. On the Sabbath day you must eat. Each stay in your place. Do not go out to pick up food on the 7th day." So the people did not gather any food on the 7th day. The Israelites called the food manna. It was white like coriander seed, and it tasted like honey wafers. Then Moses said, "This is what the Lord has commanded. Fill a 2-quart container with manna to preserve it for your descendants. Then the later generations will be able to see the food I give you in the wilderness when I set you free from Egypt." Moses said to Aaron, "Get a jar and fill it with 2 quarts of manna, then put it in a sacred place before the Lord to preserve it for all future generations." Aaron did just as the Lord had commanded Moses. As the Lord commanded Moses. He eventually placed it in the Ark of the Covenant in front of the stone tables inscribed with the terms of the covenant. So the people of Israel ate manna for 40 years until they arrived at the land where they would settle. They ate manna until they came to the border of the land of Canaan. The container used to measure the manna was an omer, which was 1/10 of an ephah. It held about 2 quarts. Chapter 17. As the Lord's command, the whole community of Israel left the wilderness of Sin and moved from place to place. Eventually they camped at Rephidim, but there was no water there for the people to drink. So once more the people complained against Moses. "Give us water to drink," they demanded. "Quiet," Moses replied. "Why are you complaining against me, and why are you testing the Lord?" But tormented by thirst, they continued to argue with Moses. "Why did you bring us out of Egypt? Why are you trying to kill us? Are you trying to kill us, our children, and our livestock with thirst?" Then Moses cried out to the Lord, "What should I do with these people? They are ready to stone me." The Lord said to Moses, "Walk out in front of the people. Take your staff with the one you used when you struck the water of the Nile, and call some of the elders of Israel to join you. I will stand before you on the rock of Mount Sinai. Strike the rock, and water will come gushing out. Then the people will be able to drink." So Moses struck the rock as he was told, and water gushed out as the elders looked on. Moses named the place Messiah, which means test, or Messiah, kind of, Massah, and which means test, and Meribah, which means arguing, because the people of Israel argued with Moses and tested the Lord by saying, "Is the Lord here with us or not?" While the people of Israel were still in Rephidim, the warriors of Amalek attacked them. Moses commanded Joshua, "Choose some of the men to go out and fight the army of Amalek for us. Tomorrow I will stand at the top of the hill holding the staff of the Lord of God in my hand. So Joshua did what Moses had commanded and fought the army of Amalek. Meanwhile, Moses, Aaron, and Hur climbed to the top of a nearby hill. As long as Moses held his hand or his staff in his hand, the Israelites had the advantage. But whenever he dropped his hand, the Amalekites gained the advantage. Moses' arms soon became too tired. He could no longer hold them up. So Aaron and Hur found a stone for him to sit on. Then they stood on each side of Moses, holding up his hands, so his hands held steadily until sunset. As a result, Joshua overwhelmed the army of Amalek in battle. After the victory, the Lord instructed Moses, "Write this down on a scroll as a permanent reminder, and read it aloud to Joshua. I will erase the memory of Amalek from under heaven." Moses built an altar there and named it Yahweh Nisi, which means "the Lord is my banner." He said, "They have raised their fist against the Lord's throne, so now the Lord will be at war with Amalek generations after generation." Chapter 18. Moses' father-in-law Jethro, the priest of Midian, heard about everything God had done for Moses and his people, the Israelites. He heard especially about how the Lord had rescued them from Egypt. Earlier, Moses had sent his wife Zipporah and his 2 sons back to Jethro, who had taken them in. Moses' first son was named Gershom, for Moses had said when the boy was born, "I have been a foreigner in a foreign land." His second son was named Eliezer, for Moses had said, "The God of my ancestors was my helper. He rescued me from the sword of Pharaoh." Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, now came to visit Moses in the wilderness. He brought Moses' wife and 2 sons with him, and they arrived while Moses and the people were camped near the mountain of God. Jethro had sent a message to Moses saying, "I, Jethro, your father-in-law, am coming to see you with your wife and your 2 sons." So Moses went out to meet his father-in-law. He bowed low and kissed him. They asked about each other's welfare and then went into Moses' tent. Moses told his father-in-law everything the Lord had done to Pharaoh and Egypt on behalf of Israel. He also told about all the hardships they had experienced along the way and how the Lord had rescued his people from all their troubles. Jethro was delighted when he heard about all the good things the Lord had done for Israel as he rescued them from the land of the Egyptians. "Praise the Lord," Jethro said, "for he has Sorry, guys. Praise the Lord, Jethro said, "for he has rescued you from the Egyptians and from Pharaoh. Yes, he has rescued Israel from the powerful hand of Egypt. I know now that the Lord is greater than all gods because he rescued his people from the oppression of the proud Egyptians." Then Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, brought a burnt offering and sacrifices to God. Aaron and all the elders of Israel came out and joined him in a sacrificial meal in God's presence. The next day Moses took his seat to hear the Lord's disputes against each other, to hear the people's disputes against each other. They waited before him from morning till evening. When Moses' father-in-law saw all that Moses was doing for the people, he asked, "What are you really accomplishing here? Why are you trying to do all this alone while everyone stands around you from morning till evening?" Moses replied, "Because the people come to me to get a ruling from God. When a dispute arises, they come to me, and I am the one who settles the case between the quarreling parties. I inform the people of God's decrees and give them his instructions. This is not good Moses' father-in-law exclaimed, "You're going to wear yourself out and the people too. This job is too heavy a burden for you to handle all by yourself. Now listen to me and let me give you a word of advice, and may God be with you. You should continue to be the people's representative before God, bringing their disputes to Him. Teach them God's decrees and give them His instructions. Show them how to conduct their lives. But select from all the people some capable, honest men who fear God and hate bribes. Appoint them as leaders over groups of 1,150 and 10. They should always be available to solve the people's common disputes, but they have them bring the major cases to you. Let the leaders decide the smaller matters themselves. They will help you carry the load, making the task easier for you. If you follow this advice, and if God commands you to do so, then you will be able to endure the pressures, and all these people will go home in peace." Moses listened to his father-in-law's advice and followed his suggestions. He chose capable men from all over Israel and appointed them as leaders over the people. He put them in charge of groups of 1,150 and 10. These men were always available to solve people's common disputes. They brought the major cases to Moses, but they took care of the smaller matters themselves. Soon after this, Moses said goodbye to his father-in-law, who returned to his own land. I think that's it. That was the end of chapter 18. I'm going to check real quick. Sorry, guys. So we did 16, 17, and 18. Yes, so that's it for the reading for today. Hope you enjoyed. Wait, why am I saying this right now? Sorry. We're going to go on to the Bible study portion, and we'll do a little bit of that, and then I get to say, hope you enjoyed. So yeah. Okay, guys, thanks for staying for the Bible study portion of this. So today we read chapters 16, 17, and 18 of Exodus. I'm kind of going to go from 18 to 16. But just starting with 18. So this whole chapter is talking about how Moses and his father-in-law, are talking, and they meet each other with Moses's wife, Zipporah, and his two sons, Gershom, and his second son, Eliezer. So Gershom, I'm just going to say what the names mean. Gershom sounds like a Hebrew term that means a foreigner there. And Eliezer means God is my helper. So again, it's exactly what he says once they're born. And I think that's usually what the names mean. Nowadays, I don't know, some people just name their kids because they like the way it sounds. I don't know. But yeah, so these names are basically, I think, Hebrew terms that means what they basically say after they're born. So for instance, Moses' first son was named Gershom, for Moses had said when the boy was born, so right after he was born, I have been a foreigner in a foreign land. And Gershom sounds like a Hebrew term that means foreigner there. So again, yeah, it's basically based on what they say or what's kind of happening. So if I say when this kid was born, God rescued them out of Egypt, so then they could name him a term that means the rescuer, or God is my rescue, or something like that. So I don't know, that's kind of what I was thinking on that. But anyways, so chapter 18, Moses' father-in-law, who is a priest in Midian, they come and meet each other, and so he realizes that Moses is going day in and day out from the earliest point in the morning to the late hours, probably, of just solving the problems whether it be that he stole my goat or that he owes me $3 or something like that. So it's just from the smallest to the biggest problems. And yeah, I bet it is pretty weighing on him, just like he says, because in verse, so he says, in verse 17, "This is not good," Moses' father-in-law exclaimed. "You are going to wear yourself out and the people too. This job is too heavy a burden for you to handle all by yourself." So yeah, so he's telling him that, this is too much work for you. So you basically, and then he gives him the advice to have different men for different sizes of problems. So say if it is just that he owes me $2, then yeah, have the smaller, honest people who do not like bribes and fear God, and those people will be the ones to solve the problems. But then if it's a bigger problem, like he stole a goat or something that's, I don't know, bigger or I guess more complicated, then those ones go to Moses. And Moses did as his father-in-law suggested, and I bet it was a huge good turnout. Anyways, so then, they say bye, and the father-in-law leaves. And then I'm going to go into chapter 17. This is another miracle that I really like, and I think I kind of don't want to get into the science of maybe why this works, but I think I'm going to get into it a little bit. Maybe like the way God had it was there was a bunch of water. You know how like sometimes underground there's like oil or something like that? So he knew that underground under those rocks there was water. And it was just kind of waiting, even though it's water, to get out. And right then, when he struck maybe a hole in the water with his staff, that's what made it come out. But I don't know. Anyways, so everybody again complains because, now they have food and the manna and all the meat and stuff that they need, but now they need water. So then they go to Moses again with all their complaints, and they say, "Oh, you should have just left us die or let us be slaves." But then, God hears them complaining, and he tells Moses to, so he says, sorry, I'm trying to find it. So then he says, "Take your staff, the one you used when you struck the water of the Nile, and call some of the elders of Israel to join you. I will stand before you on the rock of Mount Sinai, or Sinai, strike the rock and water will come gushing out. Then the people will be able to drink." So he basically just has to strike his staff, the one that he's been using and the one that he used to struck the Nile. And I think that's when he made the Nile into blood. So basically, so he has to strike it, and then it turns, and then it makes the water come come gushing out, and then everybody's gonna stop crying, and anyways, and then right before that, that's when the manna comes. So it's the manna, and then they have the water needs, and then God supplies the water. So everybody's crying and complaining, and they need the manna and food, or they didn't know it was manna yet, but they need food and things like that. So then they ask Joseph, and God again tells them, and so he gives them, and he makes them, I believe, 2 quarts of manna for each day for each person. And so depending on your family size depends on how much manna you get. And then on the 6th day he gives 2 times, so you'd get 4 quarts. So 2 quarts for the first day, and then 2 quarts for the 7th day, because the 7th day is dedicated to God, and that's the day of rest. So he's going to rest, and he's not going to give the manna, and that's why they're supposed to save. And it won't go bad like it was supposed to. It won't have a bunch of maggots and smell bad. But anyways, so that's what happens. And then he also tells Moses, I don't think it's probably still good, but he tells Moses to take a jar and fill it with 2 quarts of manna, then put it in a sacred place before the Lord to preserve it for all future generations. So basically, to get that, the white, what is it called? The flaky substance as fine as frost blanketed the ground. So as fine as frost and flaky, it's a flaky substance. And then they say, it tastes. Oh, I just saw it. It tastes like man, sorry. So get a jar and fill it with manna. Quartz container manna, preserve your descendants. Oh man, I thought I just saw it. Eat this food and obey in the morning. Do you keep any until the morning and the 6th day? Trying to just skim through this. So then, yeah, so it'll turn into maggots if they keep it until the 2nd day. So if they just save the 2 quarts that they picked up for the next day, then, oh, there it is. Verse 31. The Israelites called the food manna. It was white like coriander seed, and it tasted like honey wafers. So I'm thinking it's like vanilla wafers, if you ever had those, but it tastes like honey, so it's probably even better. Anyways, so that's pretty much it, and that's all that I really wanted to talk about. Hope you guys enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye. And seek you.